Hi.
Hello.
1, 2, 3. Check, check.
Wow,
Nice.
what an incredible way to start this very first episode. I love it. I love it. CJ, dude, thanks again for being here, man. Really appreciate it. And everyone from CJ's channel and from my channel, thanks for tuning in today. It's honestly a blast to have you all here, and I'm really excited for us just to hang out, talk a little bit. So before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about what we're actually going to be doing today and what this thing actually is. So I want to give a shout out. Hopefully he is here in chat. Rushki B. Rushki B came up with the name The Saturday Stand-Up. So Rushki, if you're there, thank you for that. But this was an idea for us to talk about literally anything tech related, anything related to programming, anything related to just like personal development, all those fun things. So really glad to have you all here. And since this is a live broadcast on Twitch, we will be here interacting with chat. I would say the chat interaction probably won't be as much as a typical programming stream, but you know, we're just gonna play around with it. We're gonna see what's up. CJ is gonna pull some stuff from chat. I will as well. And if you have any questions for CJ or I at the end of the stream, all you have to do is type in !question to see how to add a question to the queue, and we'll go ahead and answer that for you at the end. Yeah, this sounds great. This sounds great. So pretty much the topic for today of the very first podcast that we're doing here is pretty much the future of live programming on Twitch. And we all have been living through this quarantine time right now. And I don't know about all of you, CJ, especially you, how often have you been on Twitch during this COVID period?
It's very interesting because like right when it all happened, I had just set up a 4-day-a-week schedule. And then I just kept it. So
yeah, I mean, that's what's up. Yeah, I totally get that. Cheyenne in chat, Under Oath, top tier, good job. Great band. Anyways, yes, I totally agree with you. I think it's one of those things where actually at work, when I would go into an office, I actually had Twitch on all the time, and my manager would walk by and say, "Hey, what are you doing over there? Are you programming or are you watching someone else program?" And I said, "Oh, you're right. Sorry. Let's go ahead and get back to work." Yeah. But yeah, totally get that with all that stuff. But again, and hope everyone's staying safe out there.
I definitely saw an uptick in people on Twitch when the quarantine happened, which is a good thing, I think. So
yeah, 100%. I agree. Speaking of uptick in Twitch, super random, but Shroud. Thoughts on Shroud coming back to Twitch?
I'm not really up to date on all these things. So okay. I saw him in my recommended. There were like 80,000 people watching, and I've heard people mention him in other chats. But
yeah, actually pretty insane. Shroud, he was on Mixer, Microsoft, and then Mixer died, unfortunately. RIP. And from there, yeah, he's now back. He peaked at like almost 600,000 viewers on his stream back, which is pretty insane. So
that's a lot.
I think that if anything, that shows all the people coming here from on Twitch right now. But yeah, hell yeah. So before we get started into the actual topic, CJ, I actually had a lot of questions that were just quick to get to know you a little more. And so I got some 10 quick fire questions, and really answer them as quick as you can. Maybe we'll tangent on some of them. And yeah, I would love to know your thoughts on them.
Let's do it.
So, all right, awesome. First question. What is your favorite color?
Blue, actually. I say that because there's a lot of green here.
I had this all planned in my head, and I was really excited because my favorite color is green, and I was waiting for you to say green, but then you said blue. So yeah. All right. Okay, that's cool. Next question. French fries or tater tots?
That's hard. It depends on the French fry or the tater tot. But I'd probably go for tater tots more often.
Tots? Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Do you like deep fried tater tots or oven baked tater tots?
Oh, deep fried.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Beautiful. I would definitely agree with you there. Cool. Okay. Next, what is your favorite music genre?
This is hard. I mean, these days I listen to a lot of like ambient electronic. Okay. But I grew up on punk rock, and I still listen to that a lot. So yeah, in between super chill and like very not chill.
Who is your all-time favorite punk rock band when you're growing up?
It's also hard because I went through phases. I listened to a lot of like '90s pop punk, but then I went back to the older stuff. I mean, yeah. I like Green Day. I know it's like they're very popular, but I like the old Green Day stuff.
Classic. Yeah, I totally get you there. That's cool. Awesome. Okay, next. This is a little bit more into the programming side. Okay. JavaScript or TypeScript?
It depends. If it's just me and my laptop, it's JavaScript.
Okay.
If I'm building it for a client or I'm working on a team or I expect other people to work on it, TypeScript.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, I was actually the it depends thing reminds me of the consultant answer. It's like, hey, you want this thing built? Well, it depends.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I know at least personally in my chat, our app we're building in JavaScript, people give me a lot of crap about not using TypeScript. So definitely heated question, heated debate. Yes, thank you, Roars, for posting that TypeScript command in chat. Beautiful. Okay, question number 5. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Okay, what type of tea?
Yerba mate. But some people say that it's not tea. So if that's not tea, then green tea.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know too much about tea. I'm more of a coffee drinker myself, but yeah, understandable. Okay. And the next one, do you have a favorite video game?
I'm not much of a gamer, but I do play a lot of Rocket League. And I played Rocket League last night and this morning, so that.
Nice. Yeah, Rocket League's good. I actually picked it up the other day. Pretty freaking awesome. Cool. And nice. All right, couple more. Cats or dogs?
Dogs. I'm definitely allergic to cats. I don't mind cats, but I will basically swell up and sneeze forever if I get around cats. Oh
my gosh. Yes. Okay. So I have this really sad moment in my life where I really enjoy cats, but I'm deathly allergic. I will swell up in my throat, and yeah, it's not a good time. But yeah, good to know. Good to know. Next, this is kind of a open-ended question, sort of, because there's a lot in this area, I'd say. Mac OS, Windows, or Linux, or a flavor or variant?
It depends. I mean, so I dev on Mac OS, but I worked in Windows support for many years. I know Windows fairly well.
Yeah.
I was a system administrator, so I know Linux very well. But I always just tend towards Mac.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. And so what Mac do you use right now as your personal machine?
I have a 2015 MacBook Pro. I actually got it used on eBay. It was like only slightly used. Yeah. And I bought this just a few months ago instead of buying the new MacBook, mainly because I wanted like a dedicated HDMI. I don't like the USB-C converter thing.
Yes. Sure.
And it has a dedicated video card.
Yeah.
It's just a nice machine, even though it's 5 years old at this point.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good call out there. The one thing that I always think about is why I like Mac OS so much. It just works, I think. And honestly, I think I was reading one of your FAQs the other day, and you're just like, it just works.
It just works? Yeah. So like I can use the other things. I know how. It's not like I don't like them, but
yeah.
I've had a lot of problems that I've had to deal with, and it just works. So
yeah, 100%. That's hilarious. And what do you think about Apple's new system on a chip stuff coming out? The new architecture?
I haven't looked too much into it, but on the surface, it seems kind of lame. Like they're switching to ARM architecture, which means potentially that a lot of apps won't work when they switch to that, which is not ideal. Like similar to what happened when they switched from PowerPC to Intel, which I think was a good switch because it's what everything else uses for the most part. Anyways, but yeah, I don't know much about it, but it seems like it may not be that great.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I see that. And I think one of the big things that I've seen is they're putting a lot of support in trying to get developers to now move on to this architecture. So they have a lot of tools around it. Okay. The question is it actually gonna work? How's it gonna be? Are we gonna start losing a lot of third-party apps because of this? Yeah. ACM, it just twerks. Yes, it does probably twerk as well. You can probably make it do something along those lines. Okay, 2 more questions. This is a great one. It's one of my favorites. What is the first word you think of that starts with the letter C?
I mean, I was going to say my own name, but that's a little narcissistic, isn't it? And then I was going to say car. I don't like cars. I don't know.
Car. I mean, it works, right? Like, it works. Yeah. But I don't like cars. I love it. Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, and huge shout out to the anonymous gifter for those tier 1 subs. Salute, my friends. Thank you for that. Hell yeah. Yeah, I guess I would have thought code since I can see it on your shirt.
I didn't even think about that.
maybe we can redact that and do code instead.
Okay, ask me again.
Yeah. Okay, what is the first word you think of when starting with the C?
Code.
There we go. Mods, can we clip that out later on? Thank you. All right, cool. And the last question, the most talked about question in the history of programming. I don't know if you're ready.
I think I am.
Okay. Chat, do you think he's ready? The best programming language ever created, go.
I can't answer that. So, because I realized, like, I read a lot of JavaScript. I like JavaScript.
Yeah.
But I realized that there are a lot of things wrong with JavaScript, or things that people don't like about JavaScript. It's not the best programming language ever.
Yeah.
However, because JavaScript is potentially the first programming language that a lot of people might encounter in the world if they decide to start coding, and it's very friendly in that it's forgiving in how you code things.
Okay.
I would say that I like that about JavaScript. Is it the best in the world? I don't know. It's pretty much all I'm writing these days, though. So, JavaScript.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know this was kind of a weird, like, all right, how would someone really answer this? I don't think anyone ever has an answer. One thing I usually always like to talk about is the fact that it's just whatever tool works, right? We have so much nowadays.
No, exactly. And like every programming language potentially makes you think about the problem in a different way or approach it in a different way.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think is great. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the best part is all the open source stuff coming out now, right? All this stuff is just going to be improved on over time. All the new things are going to happen and come out, and people here right now could come up with something else, and that's incredible.
Definitely.
For sure. Awesome, CJ. Well, I appreciate those. Those are good questions.
It wasn't exactly rapid fire. I apologize, but I tried my best.
No, that's cool. I feel like it was more of a semi-rapid fire, but we'll take it. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that as well. Thanks for hanging. So now, before we actually get again into the main topic here, I want to kind of get to know CJ as a Twitch streamer, as a YouTuber, as a developer. So I had a couple questions for you. Would love to ask you again. The first one, really, this is something that I think is a really interesting question now that a lot of people really talk about. Would you say you have a traditional background in programming? Meaning, did you learn programming in the traditional school way, or do you feel like you are more of a self-taught developer?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I have a degree in computer science, but I learned how to program before school, and I've always been teaching myself things.
Okay.
So, yes, I have a traditional background, but I also had the mentality of like just ready to learn anything, and finding all the resources I can to learn something, whether or not it's programming.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great answer. I'm finding more and more in just general with new developers, they're having more questions on the lines of, should I really go to school to learn this, or can I just pick it up? And especially with companies like Apple and Google that aren't really requiring 4-year degrees anymore in some jobs. It's a great question. What do you think about that? Like, what are your thoughts on, if someone came and asked you that, what would you suggest to them?
Like, should they go to school for like traditional computer science or something like that?
Yeah, like would you recommend that to them?
It really depends. I think if you're young, if you haven't gone to college yet, I'm of the opinion that you probably should just go to college anyways. Like, you technically could go straight into like a code school, like basically a trade school, like a 6-month or a 1-year school right out of high school. But I grew a lot as a person in college, so I think like it's not just about learning to program. It's also like growing as a person and like learning to do your own laundry and live in the world itself. So for somebody that's in that boat, I would recommend probably go to college if you can afford it. For someone that is like about to switch careers, then absolutely. So I actually worked at a code school for about 3.5 years teaching full stack web development.
Oh, nice.
So I know firsthand that it can work.
Yeah.
I also know that you can have a wide range of experiences depending on what code school you go to.
Yeah.
But the main thing I saw is if a person was driven enough and determined enough, and like if they really wanted it, if they wanted to put in the work, they absolutely could learn to code, become a software developer, and get a job in the real world.
Yeah.
And so I taught hundreds of students that basically went through that path. Like they'd lived a previous life, gotten degrees and other things, and worked other jobs, but now they decided they want to come over into programming, and they did. So
yeah, no, that's pretty incredible. I know. So I guess one thing to mention as well, for chat and anyone else listening, we're talking from a standard of the United States. So
right.
Obviously every country is different depending on where you live and things like that. United States, from my perspective, does actually cost a lot to go to school. So depending on what you're doing and depending on what you're trying to get, there's always these cool like code camps that CJ's talking about that I find really interesting. What was the name of the code camp, CJ, if you don't mind me asking?
It was Galvanize.
Okay.
They acquired Hack Reactor, and now it's like more Hack Reactor than it is Galvanize. I don't know, it's been a few years since I was there, but yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there was always a couple I've been interested in. I never actually ended up doing, but code schools are pretty great.
So what is your background? I actually don't know. Do you have a computer science degree or?
Yeah, so my background's pretty interesting. I actually I have a 4-year degree. I graduated with a degree in information technology. So essentially it is a much toned down version of CS. Basically you take your intro classes and that's it. But I fell in love with hackathons and just building projects on the side. I think my last year of university, I went to 12 hackathons that year, like all around the country, because I was really, really just hyped about it. So I feel like I'm I like to call myself a scrappy developer, because I feel like I definitely got more knowledge and learnings outside of school than I did in school.
Cool.
So yeah, definitely. Cool. Next thing, in regards to kind of this traditional background in programming, when was your aha moment for programming? Like you sat down at your computer and you're like, yes, I'm meant to be a developer today.
I still don't know if I should be a developer. Honestly, like
you heard it here first.
Yeah, so I like solving problems. I think, yeah, and I've never thought about it, I guess, as like, I don't know. It's a weird question for me, I guess.
Sure.
Because so I built websites when I was like 12, 13 years old. I kind of just hacked around and like I basically didn't exactly learn PHP. I took existing scripts and then figured out how to modify them to make them do the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really ever had an aha moment. It's always just like it's a process. It's always like I want to do this thing. How am I going to get there? And like even today, like if I want to build something, I have to figure out, okay, what libraries do I need? Obviously, I have all this prior experience, so that comes into play.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
No, that's. I mean, it's a great answer. I'm a little different because I specifically remember the moment that I had it. It's because I actually hated programming to begin with. I thought it was the stupidest thing. I'm like, who would ever want to spend their life doing this? And then I had an internship, and all of a sudden, it just like the gates open where I realized that if I have a laptop and the internet, I literally can build anything I want wherever I want. Yeah. And that for me, that's like the very perfect memory for me. So good point though. There's always a different side of the coin, right?
I think the what you just mentioned kind of reminded me though, because like even before that, I've always been like a self-learner. So I think the aha moment for me was I can teach myself anything. So like I taught myself guitar when I was a kid. Awesome. I taught myself how to build computers and fix computers. Yeah. So that was probably the aha moment. That was like, oh, I don't have to wait for anybody else. I can just do it myself. And then it applies to programming too. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. The building computer thing makes me think back to this first computer kit I bought when places like Circuit City, things like that were around. Yeah. And they had these bare bone kits, right? You'd go in, NVIDIA had one that had, I don't know, like a whole manual on how to put computers together.
Right.
Man, what a time. What a time that was. Yes, yeah, and RIP Circuit City. Yeah, can we get some ripperonis in the chat for Circuit City? RIP. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so we know kind of your background of programming, how you got started. We have this sort of, all right, young CJ figured out this is what I want to do. And now the question is, you have a big YouTube channel. You have a big Twitch following. How did you decide that you wanted to start this like journey into YouTube videos and this more of a I like to say developer advocate, but please, let me know if there's something else that's more along the lines of.
No, I mean, I've never called myself that, but I kind of am. Like, I get excited about code. I want other people to get excited about code. So yeah. But so it pretty much started with me teaching. So before I taught at that code school, I was in the professional world for about 4 years or so. That was after college. So I had been working, and I left that job and I wanted to find something different. I didn't know what I wanted. So I was working at like a really big company. I knew I didn't want to work at a big company again. And I thought about like starting my own thing. And so eventually I saw the job posting for the code school. Thought, oh, maybe I could do this. Because I never actually taught in any formal capacity before that either. Okay. And so I saw that, and then I became a teacher, and I got pretty good at it. And people I identified with the way I taught, and liked the way I explained things. So it really all started with me being like an educator first. And I had quite a few students. So at the time I was in running a class of about 30 students, and I had one teaching assistant. But it was just me and the 30 students and the teaching assistant. So I kind of needed a way to clone myself, or basically create resources that students could use so that I could help multiple people at the same time. And that's when I started recording tutorials, which were basically just recorded versions of my lessons. And initially I uploaded those to YouTube, but I didn't, they were meant for my students, right? I wasn't trying to build a YouTube following or trying to get anybody else to watch them. It was really just for my students.
Yeah.
And then the YouTube algorithm started to pick them up, and other people found them useful too. So my YouTube channel started as uploaded tutorials that weren't really meant for the world, but the world got use out of them. And then and I kept uploading videos similar to that, and then eventually decided to live stream. And I've always considered my live streams kind of just like a live lesson. So I treat it very similar to how I would treat whenever I got in front of the classroom to teach something. And that's actually how my live streams started. So if you go back in the history of CodingGarden, the first 6 months or so, every live stream is only about an hour and a half long, and it's about one specific topic that I'm teaching. And I basically went live to teach the thing, show some examples, and then I was done. It's not exactly what I do today, where it's very impromptu and answering questions and writing code and then going back and forth. But it all kind of started as live teaching lessons, basically, I guess. Did I answer your question? I rambled for a long time.
No, that was perfect. I actually got a couple nuggets in my mind from some things you said. But yeah, I mean, that you literally started because you started teaching, and you're I find it really interesting, and I think it's something that it's really good for people that are just starting development. You started doing this because you were trying to solve a problem for your students and yourself, and then all of a sudden, holy crap, look at all these people, they actually find my thing useful, and it expanded, right? And I think when creating projects or building anything in general, the biggest point is build something you're passionate about, build something to solve a problem for yourself, and then it kind of just will happen. If other people have the same issues or problems as you, it will pick up and do that. So
that's beautiful. That's so much better than what I just said. But
oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, no, but yeah, that's literally what it is, right? And that's something I'm also very passionate about. It's just this idea of literally you can build anything you want, and someone will find use for it. But that's cool to see how that rise happened. And so, based off of all of a sudden these people in the outer world of your classrooms are watching your videos, was it sort of this random uptick and rise, and you're like, oh my gosh, whoa, what's happening? Or is it kind of gradual over time?
It was slow. It was super slow. And it was kind of just and because at the beginning of this, you called me a YouTuber. I really don't consider myself a YouTuber.
Sure. Because
if you think of the traditional YouTuber, it's prepared content. They always say like and subscribe. Don't clip that. Because basically I never say that.
Sure.
I go live. We do our thing, and then if people find it useful, they'll click they'll subscribe. I don't have to 100%. Tell them to do that. So yeah, and I guess that's the other thing about my older live streams is that they have rewatchability, right? Most of my live streams these days, people still watch the VODs, but it's not like they used to be, where you could actually it's an hour and a half of packed full of information versus 3 hours where there's some information, some interaction, kind of like hanging out.
Yeah.
So my older videos had a ton of rewatch value, which is how people started to find me, because I would do the live stream, and like the live stream, and the nature of YouTube is after the live stream is over, it becomes a VOD that other people can watch.
Yeah.
So if you look at my like very first live stream I ever did, there were at most 2 people in the chat, but now that video has like 10,000 views. Yeah. So that's how people are finding me, is through my older videos.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really incredible. It's cool because as tech is changing so often, it's also not. Like, you still have those same sort of like, hey, I made this thing about JavaScript, I don't know, 5 years ago, but it's still somewhat relative now, even though it might have changed a tiny bit here or there. Yeah, awesome. That's that's great. Man.
Well, I guess one thing I'll also mention about it is like, so it was a slow rise, but the nice thing about it is when you're live streaming on YouTube, and especially more recently, YouTube is recommending live streams, and so that's actually how a lot of people found me as well. So like they see that I'm live, they follow more traditional code tutorials on YouTube already, and so then they got interested in my content. But yeah, I consider my content just like really different than a lot of the other coding tutorial channels, just because it's not prepared. I mean, it sort of is, but it's live, it's in the moment. There are a lot of mess ups. And I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think so I actually didn't know that about the YouTube algorithm now, promoting more live streams, but I guess it does make sense. Again, like, we're in this world of live streaming kind of becoming this thing that the bubble is large, but I don't think it's actually fully burst yet, right? It's close, but it's not there.
Oh, I'll mention really quick. So Infi just said in the chat, the coding train is how I found CJ. The coding train is definitely one of my inspirations. So, and I'll mention, like, when I was live streaming back then, the coding train was like the only person I knew that was doing anything similar. I mean, and he had been around for years before that. Yeah. Like, I didn't know there were other live coder streamers until like maybe a year ago. Twitch was a whole different thing. Like, I didn't know about the live coders team. I didn't know about C# Fritz or anybody else. Until about a year ago, and before that, I was kind of just in my own little bubble. I didn't really know other people were doing something similar.
Yeah, isn't it the craziest thing when all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, people actually watch me type on a computer and just like build stuff? Like, it's that I remember I figured that out on Twitch, especially a couple of years ago when I first started getting into it, and it was the weirdest thing. And I was I've loved to see the rise on Twitch of all these different types of, not even just programming, but just science and technology in general. There's so many cool streams out there now that people can watch. But awesome to know about Coding Train. So is this still something that is active, Coding Train?
Yeah, absolutely. He has 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He does a lot of artificial intelligence, machine learning, a lot of visual type of coding. Actually, let me throw some links in your chat.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a great resource for everyone. But yeah, I think it's a great community that we have here with a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, Alka says creative coding, and also Alka does quite a bit of creative coding. If you're interested in that, check out his channel too.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's Alka. I'm coming to your channel soon. Thank you. But yeah, and also, hey Kavi, what's up? I rated her stream a while back, programming stuff as well. I think that's another really great way for people to kind of get to know other programming communities and realize, oh, science and technology is actually a thing out here, which is great. So, all right, all of this talk about YouTube, right, is great and all, but we're on Twitch right now, and I'm very curious. This is something that I remember like one of the first days I saw you come on Twitch, and I was like, all right, let me size this person up. Let's see what's going on, you know? and I was like, all right, you know, someone's entering the scene. Let's see. And I saw you were streaming on YouTube and Twitch. You're doing the dual stream stuff. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. I actually hadn't really seen people do that before until probably your stream. And I was, you know, I saw you do that for a while, and I believe now you don't do that anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And so that it was about a 6-month transition from YouTube to Twitch. Because as you may know, as a Twitch affiliate, there's an exclusivity clause.
Yes.
And same thing for partners, where you are not allowed. So any content broadcasted on Twitch cannot appear on any other platform for 24 hours. But I was not an affiliate yet, on Twitch. And I knew I wanted to move to Twitch. Like one of the main reasons I wanted to move was the Live Coders team in general. Like
awesome.
I found that community, and I was like, I want to be a part of this. Like you were mentioning, like we raid each other, and it's like a lot of all the same people hang out in all of the different chats. So I wanted that as well, and also like the APIs, the low latency. There's a lot of really good stuff Twitch has going on for live streaming, and so I was like, I knew I wanted to switch, but when I started, I was averaging about like 200 viewers or so on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then when I would cross stream, there'd be like 10 people on Twitch. So like I knew that it had to be like, if I wanted to get my audience over to Twitch, it had to be like a slow roll.
Yeah.
And so basically over the course of 6 months, I kept saying like, I'm going to do it. You all have to follow me on Twitch. I'm not going to stream on YouTube anymore. And then I guess it was in April, I signed the affiliate agreement. I stopped dual streaming. And then, started full Twitch.
Yeah, no, that was literally the big question I had, because I noticed people did that, and I also knew about the exclusivity clause with YouTube and Twitch, especially for partners.
Yeah, there are some people that are affiliate and they dual stream, but I guess they're not big enough for Twitch to notice. But sure, I definitely like I wanted to be on good terms with everyone. Like I didn't want to violate any contracts or anything like that. So
yeah, no, I think that's obviously the smart move. And huge shout out, yes, to the Live Coders team. If anyone here is from the Live Coders team, welcome. Glad to have you all. This is the stuff we love to do. So huge shout out. And if any of you have not checked out the Live Coders team, it's a really awesome developing community here on Twitch, all hanging out and doing fun stuff. So yes. Yeah, thanks for posting that, CJ. Right there. Take a look. You can apply now too if you're interested. I was just asking my mods, hey, do we have a Live Coders command here? Hello? Because I don't remember making one. So glad that you have it.
I copy and pasted it from my chat. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Pro streamer over here. Anyways, yes. Cool. Yeah, that's great. So now you can say pretty much you're fully Twitch exclusive for live programming and potentially other content, right? Depending on what's out there. But you still do a lot on YouTube, right?
So, I mean, what I have been doing is, and I slowly figured out like to do things like this, but I've been doing or trying to do like speed runs. So trying to create some sort of coding content that could be clipped from a live stream and then become the YouTube content, like a 10-minute, 20-minute video, the things that people are used to, because people are not used to seeing a 3-hour video uploaded to YouTube.
Definitely.
So and it's a constant search for like, what can I do that can be a quick video on YouTube? Yeah. But it's still no edits. It's basically, chopped from when I start and I basically do like a little intro, like it's the beginning of a video, but I'm like in the middle of a live stream. Yeah. I do the thing and then everyone says bye. And then later on I clip that and upload that to YouTube.
Okay.
So technically that is YouTube content. Yeah, people are using our content emotes in the chat. Content. But at the same time, it's like it was still experience live, and I think that's what's driving a lot of people from YouTube over to Twitch now, because they see those clips and they're like, oh, I want to be a part of this. I see the chat scrolling by and they're using all these emotes and it's really cool. Yeah. And then that drives people from not only being a YouTube subscriber but being also a viewer on Twitch. So
yeah.
CMOC says, am I the only one who watches the whole 3 hours? No, there are I have quite a few dedicated fans that like stay up to date on all the VODs and like everything that's happened. But
yeah, that's actually really funny. There's sometimes I have people that will come in my chat as well and they say, hey, do you have the whole stream uploaded on YouTube? And at first I was like, what? You're really gonna go back and watch all this? And then I did have people that would go back and watch it. So it's like, sure. I mean, it doesn't do anything for me. I just export it, and then if it's just you want the raw stream, there it is, and you're good to go.
Right.
Apparently, I can't get my mods to stay up to date. Thank you, Royce. Appreciate you. But yeah, that's great. So, all right, I think we now have the full idea of CJ, who he is, like the full garden, as we should say, right? Nice. Of who you are, and so this kind of brings me to the main question here. Of very broad, but we can definitely hit into like some certain spots too, for sure. What do you see as the future of live programming on Twitch, on YouTube, other platforms? Like what is your opinion on how that is?
Don't know. I guess I'd have to think about it. That is the title of this. I should have thought about it more, I guess. But
all right,
I'm doing it live. I'm doing it live. No, like like I mentioned earlier that Daniel Schiffman of the Coding Train was a big influence, and I saw him as it's like the things that he was doing and the things that I like started to try to do. I felt like it could be like a morning access show, like on PBS, like teaching people to code, lots of people tuning in, like very interactive and like aware of the people that are watching the thing. And so like I don't know how soon anything like that could happen, but to me that's kind of what I want to see, like basically like coding content becoming potentially appealing to the masses. And now I realize like there always is a barrier to entry, because you have to know a little bit about, or at least be interested in it to want to watch it. But I see something like that happening where you have some sort of figure, whoever that may be, but that does it on a scale to where like non-technical people can enjoy it as well. I also just see, like, especially with COVID and quarantine and everyone being home, a lot more people have a lot more free time and time in front of their laptop. They have a webcam already, and so they're just starting up. And it's interesting to see on Twitch, because there are a lot of like small communities, like even if it's only like 20, 30 people in the chat, even like lower than that, 10 people in the chat, like that is the community that they've created, and they go live to them, and they enjoy that content, and they're slowly growing and getting more people in that little community. But I think that's great, because it's like kind of like tiny little microcosms of people coding and working on different things, and they have their little community. And so is that, I don't know, the question is like, what is the future? Like,
it's super broad. I'm not expecting like super anything concrete, but more just like the thought process, right? Because this is something that I have thought about a lot, and I think one of the big influences right now of people wanting to live stream on Twitch is seeing gaming streamers making this as very successful full-time careers, and that obviously is very appealing. I saw a couple people in chat talking about like the Bob Ross of programming, like Mr. Rogers type deal. Like that stuff is, I think, great examples of what that could look like in the future. But it's interesting that you're saying about the small communities and how they start growing over time, and it's more of that like really group interaction with the smaller people, right? Or the smaller,
like that's a major difference in live coding versus like game streaming, like especially with the I mean, I'll say this, I'm not super familiar with like all of the things that happen on Twitch, but like I have tuned in to like Ninja before, and like there's no way he could keep up with the chat. Like it's just flying a million miles a minute. And like, is that is it a community, or are they just focused around like one specific, like they're all there to see that person rather than to see and interact with each other? Whereas in live coding, like you in the chat, people like say hi to each other, and they're like it's like they're that little community. I'm sure that happens elsewhere on Twitch as well. But I definitely see that more in live coding streams. It's just like this community vibe, and like in interaction as well. It's not just like watching a person doing something. It's asking questions. It's being engaged with what they're doing. So
I think that's a really good call out for sure. The biggest thing that I find, and also a question for you, is I actually prefer watching people for the streamer most of the time. There's, depending on like the content obviously is there, like I go to a stream for either programming or some games sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm going to stay because I like the environment of the chat and also the streamer that's doing it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like there's this kind of split between like the absolute top tier programmers that are just heads down grinding out code, or the more kind of, we interact with chat more and they program maybe not as much, or not as intensely, I should say?
I think it's they both have their place, because I'm not going to name any names, but I can think of some larger programming streamers where that's kind of the case. Like it's not a lot of interaction. It's really just they're there to see that really known and really good programmer do their thing. And I think that's totally fine. Like they're like it's entertaining to watch someone who knows what they're doing do something. So like I don't have anything against that, and like I think it's definitely one type of streaming that could be done. But like for me, like I think it's always going to be a community vibe as much as I can, because like even my chat is like very hard to keep up with. But I try to engage people as much as possible, and like that's my preferred way of doing it. But yep. But I know what you mean as well. Like some of the streamers that I do, because I do watch some streamers. I'll say that they're not gaming streamers. I watch a lot in like the music category, art category, and some just chatting. And there, it kind of is centered around the person who's doing the thing. Sure. Like you're there to watch that person because they're entertaining or they're talented. But I do notice a very similar community vibe in those types of streams that we have over here in Science and Technology.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I mean.
Are we in just chatting right now? I keep saying here in Science and Technology.
Yeah, no, I just moved us over to Science and Technology, so good call.
Nice.
yeah, we're good.
Cool.
One thing that I find really interesting about what you said is kind of one of the larger streamers here on Twitch, and kind of, I would say he's Science and Technology, but he's also just chatting. Kit Boga, right? Yeah. I feel like is a fantastic example of that.
Right.
What a, like, you watch him for him, his community, but also for the content that he provides.
I think that honestly is one example of where it's like a lot of people watch, but there also is a community vibe. Like there's like everyone in the chat is kind of like moving together, and like which is interesting because there's like 15,000 people all chatting at the same time. But yeah, no, and I actually do watch a lot of Kit Boga.
Yes.
So wait, was there a question? Sorry.
No, it's just more of a comment. Yeah.
Yeah. But and I guess if we're talking about it like that, like I do tune in to watch Kit. Like he's super funny. He's entertaining. Like I watch the show for him. Yes. But also it's fun to see what's happening in the chat. Like I laugh at the comments that like some of the comments that fly by, and I don't know. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% there. I think it's a great time. I do watch his streams a lot as well. He actually was one of the first streamers I was like actually very inspired by. I'm like, wow, what an interesting thing. Like just a humble person altogether. And like even in your streams, right? That same sort of concept of just like being very humble and just like hanging out with people and helping people as much as you can. And that for me attracts me to a lot of streams. So yeah, I guess mad props to you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, we kind of talked about this broad question, right? And I'm kind of curious now, if we see live programming growing as a live streaming platform, either on Twitch or I don't know, maybe one of us here in chat makes a brand new programming live streaming platform, right? Do you see any blockers to this right now? Do you see this kind of ceiling where, all right, we're at this point, how do we break through that?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like there are only so many people that will tune into this kind of content. Yes, and I think like for me, like I am my content is as attractive to beginners because I usually, even if we're covering a more advanced topic, I always try to start from the basics, and that is a wider net to cast because there's more people that are getting into programming than are, well, I don't know if that's true, but there's a lot of people getting into programming versus people that are already in programming. And first off, shout out to Jitter Ted. He was in the chat. Let me see if I can see what he said earlier. Because he mentioned something about like on his stream, he does more like intermediate Java. Yeah, and it's a smaller community, but still, let me see if I can find it. And hello, Jitter Ted. Actually, no, I think I know how to do it. Wait, can I do this in your chat?
Yes, you can.
Like, /user.
Oh, rip. I don't think, man, that would have been smart probably to mod you, eh?
Yeah. Can you mod me? Yes. Or Jitter Ted, if you're still watching, can you just repeat what you said about, I can't find your chat. What you said about,
oh my gosh,
like, more intermediate content? I don't know.
Hey, mods in the Pixelogic dev team, can we get CJ modded, please? Thank you. That was totally my bad. I messed up hard on that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes, but yeah, that's a great point. Oh, I can only appoint mods. Okay, let's do this real quick.
Cool.
Yeah. No. Oh, it's the wrong command. Rip.
Okay, he said it though. So Jitter Ted says, my community is smaller, but I focus on intermediate and design and architectural level in Java that I don't see too much of elsewhere, which is great. Like it's cool to be able to like have that kind of content and be able to tune in if you're into that kind of thing. Which actually, like, I am interested in doing something similar for the Node.js world, because like I do a lot of beginner focused things. Like people see me like hack together an API.
Yeah.
In the real world, I don't do that. Like I spend more time, and there's more design and architecture and testing that goes into it. But
yeah.
Like honestly, there's not as many people that are willing, at least that I've seen, that are potentially willing to tune into that kind of content. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that actually begs me to ask a question, because this is also another thing around this topic I think about a lot, is definitely people here on Twitch, from my perspective, enjoy kind of the intro content, or, hey, how do I do this and how do I get started in learning this thing? The intermediate content is still a little rough, because you tune into a stream and all of a sudden you're thrown into some Golang API that you're building that people are like, wait, what? What's going on here? So do you feel like, or more so, do you ever feel like you are forcing yourself to kind of cater towards that audience, or you feel more kind of, hey, I'll do what I want when I want type deal?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun for me. It's fun for me to explain things from the basics.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy doing that kind of thing.
Awesome.
I wouldn't. Yeah, like I don't find myself being like, oh, here we go again, another Express app from scratch. Like it's fun for me. I don't know, like it's a bit of a performance. Like I can just like type it, I can install a thing and I can require it in and I can type it out.
Yeah.
So that's fun. But on what you said, like I don't know how much or how fast that can grow for the people that are doing like much more serious programming and like they're bigger projects. You kind of have, there's a lot of background knowledge required to really be able to engage. And so I'm not sure about that. Like, I mean, there's definitely a place for it, and they do have a community because people are watching, but I don't know how big that could get.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think on a more personal level, that's something I currently struggle with the idea of, I don't really like doing kind of intro beginner content in a sense. I'm more of a, hey, let's build this massive project and show people how to build a project from start to finish. And I think there's a lot of power in the idea of, I have someone that's watching this story unfold, and then they finally see this app we've been working on for however long, and all of a sudden it's released to the world and they can use it on their computer or their phones. That to me is pretty powerful. But definitely. I do find that struggle of, all right, well, people come to my stream, they're like, what the heck are you doing? What is going on? Like, I'm here, but what is this? And so, yeah, anyone in chat who's ever kind of had that feeling, I think that we can all kind of agree on that topic there.
No, I know the feel, and I mean, it's happening as more and more people tune in. I've tried to start to tune it out, because it for a while it started to get on my nerves. Like every other chat was like, hey, what is he doing? What's happening here? What's going on? And we added some chat commands that help with new people coming in to know like what exactly I'm working on, because that technically still happens with me, even though I may be doing more simple things. If I'm knee deep in code, someone who's just tuning into the stream, it's going to be hard for them to get context for what I'm doing.
I guess, and another question off of that, have you found any solutions to kind of helping people stay on track with what you're doing? Because obviously, as engineers, we think of this idea of like, all right, this is really annoying and repetitive. How can I fix this? Right? What can I do to get people to stop asking the same question, or to just keep people engaged and on track?
Right. I mean, recently I actually put out the frequently asked questions page. I just did that like a couple of weeks ago, but I actually took some time to write all of it. It kind of felt like a blog post and a retrospective of like the past 2.5 years. So that helps because I point people there, but that doesn't help if I'm in the middle of some project that's not a frequently asked question. We try to have chat commands that are just like try to explain briefly what I'm doing right now, or link to the repo or something like that. Or link to a YouTube playlist of all the past videos, which is not exactly helpful for somebody tuning in live, because like they might drop in and then, oh, there are 10 episodes before this that you have to watch as a prerequisite. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't found any good, like really good solutions, but we try our best.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head right there. I don't think there is something out there yet like that, But I do think as people in this community, that's something that we definitely need to solve. To bring outer people who are interested in programming, but are nervous to, you know, they come into chat and they don't feel maybe comfortable talking because they're like, oh, I don't really know what's going on. So kind of giving that background is something that I've thought about a lot. So yeah. Awesome, man. Well, good. Yeah, good stuff. I think in general, we kind of understand now this idea of what's the future of programming, live streams. We kind of have been talking about the, are there any blockers in this area currently? And then I kind of want to switch to platforms because obviously platforms are big. You have Facebook gaming now, you have YouTube Live, you have Twitch, Rip Mixer. Can I get a Rip Mixer in the chat, please? And, you know, and there are probably other ones that I don't really know about or tune into often. Do you think that there is any sort of room for programming streamers on either of these platforms, or potentially, like we've sort of touched on, a completely new built platform from the ground up?
I think so. I mean, I think and it's not just specific to programming content. Like you can live stream anything, anywhere. do what you want. And I think like there's it's also potentially for people that might already have an audience, because I know there are. I guess I don't know. I would assume there are some people that have like a Facebook page that's about programming or something, and people like it and comment on it. And so like that's a little community that might enjoy Facebook streams or something like that.
Yeah.
There's one, I forget what it's called. I think it's called GitDuck. Let me find it real quick, because I think this is actually live streaming made for programmers.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, a video chat tool with pair programming. Maybe it's not live streaming. I'll link it in the chat really quick.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I found it a while back, but because the one thing that I was looking for was I wanted to be able to create tutorials where you could see me coding in real time, and then like pause the video, and then actually edit the code. Very similar to Scrimba, if you've heard of that platform.
I haven't heard of Scrimba, but it's sort of like Pluralsight in a sense as well, right?
I'm not familiar with Pluralsight.
Okay.
I
think like, we're talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically like when someone goes to watch a coding tutorial, they either have to like type out the code manually or find a repo and copy and paste. So to be able to like literally reach into the video and like grab the person's code, like I thought was really cool. Like I found Scrimba does that, but like right now Scrimba is all about just like front end code. You couldn't do something like directly inside of VS Code. So all that to say, I found GitDuck because I was looking for something like that, and this ties your videos to Git commits, and then like you can copy and paste the code.
No way.
Yes.
That is awesome. Wow.
But like I will say, like I haven't used it extensively. I like tried it once. So potentially a platform like this could work. I think I saw somebody mention in the chat, like right before we got started, that what was it? Code Sandbox is the future of which is, I mean, maybe they were joking, but it's not. They're not wrong, because like a tool like that allows like everybody that's watching to see the code in real time and like edit the code in real time.
Yeah. No, one cool thing that I've really loved is VS Code's, I forget what it's called, but the live stream extension that they have now. Yeah.
Live share. Yeah.
Live share. There you go. I've actually been trying to figure out a way to implement that into my stream, of this idea of like, people can just look around the repository at will. They don't have to look at what I'm just looking at. And I think that's a lot. That's actually really cool. And it gives people more freedom to kind of get into the stream, right?
Yeah. So I've tried with live share before, and actually, like, I'll give credit where credit is due. C# Fritz was the first person I ever saw do this. He's posted the live share link in his chat, and then like 15 people jumped in. Which is pretty cool, because you could see what he was working on. I had no idea what he was doing. Like I haven't touched C# in a very long time, but I was able to like open it in VS Code, and like I could see what he was doing. But I mean, I've tried doing that recently on my stream, and it just starts to slow down after more and more people pile into it. So like probably something like Code Sandbox, where it's in the browser and like not in actual VS Code, could work better. I don't know, but it is pretty cool for people to be able to like look at your code directly and look at other files that you may not be working on.
Yes.
I think like back to the topic of like gaining context, that could help, right? Because
for sure,
if you have something like that set up, they could pop in. You may be in one file, but they could look at the structure of the app, the other things that you're working on to try and get some context.
Yeah. No, I think that's actually a really good point, because even something along the lines of, hey, today we're working on this thing. Here are the files that we're going to be mainly touching. And like, even at the beginning of your files, you have a comment of, hey there, this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. So stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
We got on a tangent. I think the original question was platforms. Will there be a new platform? Correct. That's why I mentioned GetDuck.
Yes.
And I think in general, like, I guess you go where the people are, or go where your community already is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just kind of like anything in general kind of goes back to the same programming language thing, right? It's like, yeah, everyone could be using this cool thing, but just use the tool that best works for you at the end of the day.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah. Chillaxer, sky's our limit. Yes, sky's our limit. Agreed. Well, no, space now, because we even got Tesla Roadsters in space, so even farther. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. So another question, I kind of how we pretty much talked about this, but maybe a more direct answer on it. Do you think there is space for a specific live streaming platform? Like, yes, no, or is it kind of just what we're given right now is pretty much a really good solution for doing live coding streams?
And you're asking like a space for a specific platform for live streaming coding?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. And like one thing I think I wanted to mention when we were talking about other platforms was like Twitch exists because of like the 1% of streamers that have hundreds of thousands of people watching, right? Like you can't pay the bills with just a few hundred subscriptions scattered across 30 channels or so, right? So like the way like Twitch is able to exist because of the bigger streamers that bring in so much revenue, and they're able to and that they can pay for everything. So it's tricky, right? Because if there were a live stream specific or like live coding specific platform, it would have to make money somehow. And would there be enough people tuning in and enough people supporting streamers to be able to pay for it? I don't know. I'd love there to be, but I don't know if that's the case. So.
Yeah, no, I think you make a really good point. The one kind of devil's advocate thought I had on this is, well, look at our situation right now, right? People now have a lot more time to kind of do hobbies or work on things that they might have not been able to do before because of commuting to different places or just actively doing things outside of their home. But now I've noticed a lot of people are picking up this idea of, hey, I want to learn how to code. Like, I've never done this. It looks cool. Let's see how we can do it. So even given our current situation and obviously the new future of our world, does that change your mind on what you just said in regards to platform?
Not quite. And it kind of gets at to what some people are saying in the chat right now. So there are platforms for coding like Pluralsight and Udemy and even like YouTube. So it's like for those people, it's probably better to just watch a VOD or a tutorial, especially if you're starting from scratch, unless you can tune in right when the live streamer starts.
Sure.
If you're able to stick with the live streamer schedule, I guess you could watch VODs as well. But it becomes really tricky because you're basically at the will of what the streamer is going to teach you, I guess, if you're learning that way, versus being able to like kind of be able to do it on demand.
Sure.
So, I mean, I definitely see a bigger audience because of those people are now wanting to learn and tuning in.
Yes.
But I think there's a barrier there because watching live streaming coding can't be the only way that you learn. There'd have to be other things you use as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's why YouTube is such a big hit now as well. It's just easy to scrub through content, even though it's maybe not so specific to like your actual need. You can kind of get the gist of everything. Goose Vile in chat was saying, I feel like a live platform that allows developers to ask rather than wait for the course to come out is something that's pretty important. So again, that's kind of where we come in, right, with this Twitch live programming. Like, it's essentially Q&A around something that we build in a sense.
Right.
Awesome. Cool. So that's kind of all I had in regards to questions about this idea of the future of live programming. Did you have any final thoughts that you might want to add on that?
No, I mean, I hope that it does well.
Yeah.
I hope more people tune in. I hope I guess I am optimistic, but I do realize like there's a lot that needs to happen for a platform like that to exist, for more people to start watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hopeful. I guess I'll say that.
Yeah.
And but also I'm gonna keep doing it no matter what.
Yes.
Like I love doing it.
Yes.
And so even if my audience size stays the same, if we don't grow anymore, like we've built a community, and like we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. So
yeah, no, I love that. I think that was very nicely said, because at the end of the day, especially when you have people that come in and they're like, hey, I would love to get into this programming thing, or just live streaming in general, but I don't know how I would do, or I don't know how I feel about it. And it's, well, if you're interested in doing it and you have the passion behind it, it's easy to do anything at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of leads me to this last question for you. For any aspiring content creators out there, what is like your one nugget of knowledge that you would like to give to people in regards to essentially following your path to how you got to where you
are? Just do it. Wait, no, I guess that's Nike. No, it's Nike, but no, it's like, yeah. Don't wait for someone to tell you. Don't wait for having the right. Don't wait to have the right equipment. Just start creating. And then the other thing that I recommend is be genuine. I think that's why a lot of people tune in to watch me, is because I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm going to do the best that I can. We're going to learn along the way. But I'm not like putting on a show, right?
Yes.
So be yourself, just do what you can. And then I guess like in a way, like put the reps in, like you have to do it often to get good at it. Like I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but like teaching for 3.5 years was basically just me preparing to be a live streamer, because I would have to get in front of, I mean, they were real people, but I would have to get in front of them and present and improvise and keep them entertained. So like that was my practice for becoming a live streamer. And I mean, and if you don't have that kind of opportunity, like just doing it is how you're going to get that practice. So
yeah, dude, that's fantastic. And a lot of people in chat seem to pretty much agree with that. The one thing you brought up about kind of the public speaking in a sense, right, was the I remember I used to be a terrible public speaker. I remember for one of my internships, I had to give a presentation in front of like 40 people, maybe even a little less. And I had to get up and show this thing that I built. And I'm like, all right, here we go. I was terrified. I could not do it. And then I started streaming. And all of a sudden, a couple years ago, I went to a conference for work and I presented in front of 300 people, like nothing. And one thing I like to tell people is, even though programming is very technical, you still want these soft skills that you can definitely learn just through streaming, which is awesome.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I'll mention, if you ever meet me in real life, you might not recognize me. Like, I am extremely introverted. Like I very rarely speak out of turn. But before I got used to public speaking, it also terrified me. I don't know if, like, I guess there aren't a lot of people that have this experience, but the kind of people that get nervous when they're around people, like, you know, when you're in a work meeting with potential like people you haven't met before, and they're going around in the circle, and like and you have to introduce yourself, and it's like it's about to be you, and you're gonna have to say what your name is. Like that used to terrify me. Like, but I got used to it, and like the more I did that, I got used to that. I got used to public speaking. I got used to just and I think, I mean, for the most part, it's kind of just like stop worrying so much. Like also understand that if you are a nervous or anxious person, understand that you will get nervous or anxious, but you don't have to live in that. You can get past it and then just kind of like do your thing.
No, I think you and I are the same person, because I was that person as well. There we go. Yes, I literally, I think now still I get a little nervous when I have to talk with someone. But it's really interesting to kind of feel this idea of, all right, feel it for a little bit, but just work past it. Just keep going. And once you do it, it's over and you've done it. Just kind of like going on a roller coaster that you're scared of. I don't know if any of you have had that fear. That's been very fearful for me sometimes when I used to go on roller coasters, but you know, that's awesome. Yeah. Great stuff, CJ. I really appreciate all the answers and questions. I think great conversation around a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.